Bob Pollock is on the line with us, brought to you by Marcus and Mack, a law firm representing injured people. And you can give Bob a call at 479-1160. He's on one line, you'll be on the other. Bob, good morning.
Good morning.
How you doing?
I'm hanging in there. How about you?
It sounds like you're quite isolated.
Really? Is that better?
Yeah, I'm understanding from everything I know that that's the way to be. Your
That's
office,
right.
your office,
what
of
we
course,
gotta do right
your office at the extension has obviously seen changes as well as everybody else. For folks who need the extension's services, what's the procedure? What do they need to do?
Well, everybody's still working, although primarily remotely, of course.
Mm-hmm.
So anybody that needs assistance can call into the office at 724-465-3880,
Mm-hmm.
same number. And then, of course, you'll get the messaging machine, and you can leave a message for the person that you need to. So you can get into my voice box and leave a message if it's for me.
Okay.
And then we can all have the ability through the county phone system to access our messages remotely.
Uh-huh.
So that's a great thing.
Yeah.
So we can still communicate that way. Of course, electronically, if you have that option available to you, you can email any one of us.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't know how to do that, or don't know the emails, then you can go on to the extension.psu.edu web page. And at the bottom there, it says there's a link for county offices.
Mm-hmm.
So you can pick the county office you need. And then, of course, here it's going to be Indiana County. And then you can get each individual's email from there.
Okay.
So we can communicate that way, too. It's been, and then, if you have Zoom or Skype or something like that, we can also set up one-on-ones or with that system as well.
Yeah.
And that could be helpful so if you have plant problems and you're not sure what the problem is, one way that we can handle things now is just through a picture.
Mm-hmm.
So if you could text or email me a picture, that will work as well. And we'll try that way first. Because we are agriculture, we are part of the group that's allowed to still function and need to function. So I am allowed to go out and do a farm visit, for example.
Okay.
But, and if we need to go out and diagnose something, then we still need to follow all the COVID-19 procedures for keeping distance, et cetera. A lot of times, if you have to go into a field, I can do that by myself.
Mm-hmm.
So we can do our physical distancing and all of that and still get the job done.
All right. So somebody has a picture of some insect, they don't know what it is, and they send you a picture of a robin and say, "Is this a spotted lanternfly?" That would be very helpful that you could see what they're talking about, huh?
Yes, it's like the difference between a pine tree and a spruce tree.
Yeah. Well, a robin and a spotted lanternfly might have a little bit more difference than that.
Yeah, we have a couple characteristics we can go on.
If it has feathers, that would be a good start.
That's absolutely right.
Okay. So all that being the case, and your service is still available for folks in most cases, some of the things that we think about now at this time of the year, getting out, and the yards are beginning to green up, and folks are going to start to notice the weeds coming up and say to themselves, well, how do I get rid of these? And they should have really addressed that last fall, I'm sure, but it's time for folks to start looking outside and think about getting the mower blade sharpened up, isn't it?
It is. Things are beginning to green up, some things more than others. We've had a stretch of weather here where you could be out getting things done, and that might actually be a great thing to do given the situation and being pent up inside. Just getting outside, even in your own yard a little bit, and doing some things out there can be very beneficial to everybody. So I think gardening, of course, is one of those activities that we've known for a long time is very, it's healthy for us. We get out and get some physical activity,
Mm-hmm.
and then, of course, if we can see things in flower, all that really brightens us up.
Yeah, yeah. All right, so out in the garden, when we get out into the garden right now, working up the ground, getting the garden ready for planting, we could probably get some things in the ground right now, could we not?
We could. Yeah, some of those, of course, pansies are one of those early season plants that people will get because that can be the first bright spot. Of course, forsythia is blooming now. We have other plants starting to leaf out, and bulbs are coming up, and there's some daffodils blooming already. So all those things just start to really renew life in a lot of ways and can be very helpful to us.
Yeah.
Landscape from a one of those essential services is what I'm trying to think of.
Uh-huh.
But landscape services is in that essential group that is permitted to function right now.
Uh-huh.
So if you weren't sure whether somebody was, doing cleanups and doing that prep for the spring and getting ready to do that, landscape services is allowed to function. Now, you might have individual businesses that have had to alter their plans, and if they would come on your property, then I'm sure they're going to practice distancing and schedule that, and they're going to work with the client so that it's acceptable to them. But I know situations where somebody goes on site and they'll talk to the person on the phone. They'll walk the property and look and see what needs done, and even to give an estimate on the job. And the person will be inside talking on the phone as they walk the property.
Oh, we're losing you there, Bob.
Oh, sorry.
There you go. You got that.
So that's those things can still function.
Yeah.
And you may see other types of agriculture functioning, and that's because we have to eat, and we have to keep food in the supply chain.
Mm-hmm.
And so those operations must continue to function, although they're functioning differently. In response.
Oh, there you go again. Are you still there?
Yeah.
Okay. you sort of fade away there, like you didn't really want us to hear what you were saying.
It might be my phone.
It sounds like it is. But at least we have you for a couple of more minutes here this morning on Indiana in the Morning. So we can get out into the garden. We can think about our landscaping and some of the other things that we'd like to do in this early portion of the spring. We think about our shrubs and our trees and pruning things back. I talked to you a couple of weeks ago about our grapevines. I got those all trimmed back, and
Good.
And people are thinking about those things right now and things that they need to do around the house.
Right, and so forsythia, for example, that's a spring-blooming, multi-stemmed shrub. And so that we usually wait till right after it flowers and prune it then. And then that'll help stimulate new growth to come up from the ground, new stems over time to come up from the ground, keeps that plant renewed. So actually with a plant like that, in a couple of weeks here, you can, if it's getting too big or too many branches in there, then you can go into that plant and literally take one or two or three of the oldest canes out of there.
Uh-huh.
And that will then stimulate the plant to say, whoops, I've had something removed, I need to replace that growth. And so then that'll send up new growth from the base of that plant.
Mm-hmm.
And so that renews it. It keeps the size controlled, and it keeps it in a more natural form as well.
Yeah.
So just by, of course, those biggest stems are in there. Those are the oldest. So those are going to be the biggest and the tallest. So we can control our size just by removing those oldest stems. And then the plant, you don't have to shear it, where I'm going with this.
Yeah, you're thinning
you can keep its natural form, because its natural form comes up and then it bends over and it weeps down. And so if we just lop it off on the top, then we kind of destroy that that appearance. Now, if it's in a hedge, that's a little different ballgame. But
Yeah.
just to have that plant or a group of those plants in a bed or in a landscape, we want to keep that form because that's part of the plant. And then it also looks a lot more inviting when we look at it, too.
Yeah. Hey, I wanted to get back in the garden. We only have a minute left with Bob Pollock, but I wanted to get back in the garden for a second. People who planted a cover crop for the winter, maybe some winter wheat, it's up and they want to get out in the garden and get that soil ready. Plowing it under or rototilling it up, which is the better option?
Now, if there's too much growth, if it really grew a lot, you can actually mow it off first.
Okay.
That'll help break it up into smaller pieces, and then it'll be much easier. It'll still be a chore, but it'll be much easier to then work that into the ground. If you have a plow, then, you can just take that. You don't have to mow it first. You can just take it and turn it over.
Mm-hmm.
Is the usual way to do it.
Yeah.
But in a garden situation where you don't necessarily have those heavier equipment to do that, mowing it, breaking it up into smaller pieces, and then working it in will help that decay a lot quicker, and it'll also be a lot easier to work into the ground.
All right, there you go. All right, so
and you can also take a spade and just turn it over too. That's the same operation as a plow, and you'll get your exercise.
That's actual physical work. We don't want to do that.
Yes, it is.
Thanks, Bob.
You're quite welcome. Have a great day.
You too. It's Indiana in the Morning.